All right, guys, we are live. This is the Shillan and Duffy show recapping UFC Vegas 82, which was Brandon Allen versus Paul Craig versus Brandon Allen. If this is your first time ever checking out this show, this is not how it normally goes. Shillan and Duffy isn't my split personalities. There actually is a Duffy. My name is Keith Shillan. Usually joining me is Ben Duffy. He had to bail out, not last minute, but for those who know, Ben is actually a full-time member for Sherdog.com. He's actually on vacation this week, so I think it was only fair to him. Like, this is what he does for a living, for him to sit out and actually get away and enjoy some time with his family and stuff. I take enough time off for the two of us. So we'll this is how it's going to work tonight. I'm going to really pay attention to the chat, talk to them more than usual. They're going to be my co-host. There's a quite a few people in there. I thank Jeff for making a nice donation. Appreciate that. Let's so I need you guys to talk. If you're not, if you're watching, you're not talking in the chat. You're not helping us out. Help us out, man. Everyone in the chat is real cool. We got 14 fights. Probably be a little shorter of a show than we normally do because talking to yourself, and if if I don't get interaction back, it's not going to be be a lot quicker than ever. Now, anybody who's ever watched this know that I can talk as much as anybody, and I can really go on and on. So I will try my best to not do that and not ramble. But let's do it. 14 fights. Main event: Paul Craig took on Brandon Allen in the main event in a pretty pivotal middleweight matchup, being that we have a new champion in the division, Sean Strickland. With him winning the title, the division's wide open, so there was kind of had a little bit of title implications. Not necessarily like the winner was going to get a title shot or anything like that, but just be 1 or 2 steps away. Paul Craig moving down a division, kind of an unsung hero here with the Shillan and Duffy show. I don't think me and Ben, I don't think either one of us think he's good. I mean, we both picked against him tonight to get smashed, but we just enjoy. He has a throwback Hoist Gracie type feel where his game is playing guard and catching submissions, and he almost caught a pretty cool submission tonight on Brendan Allen when he went for a calf slicer. But he took on Brendan Allen is kind of, if Paul Craig is 1993, 1994 Renzo Gracie, Brendan Allen is kind of of today's version of MMA. What I mean by that is he, when we think about the styles of fights, when they used to have the days of the tournament, and one guy's a wrestler, one guy's a jiu-jitsu guy, one guy's a kickboxer. He's not a specialist in any of those sense. He is exactly what we've always said, this kind of hybrid where he's good at kickboxing, he's good at wrestling, he's good at jiu-jitsu. He's got good cardio, he's strong, he's kind of the what they the athlete side of fighting, not that what Helio Gracie and the Gracie family thought of jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu taking over the world of fighting. Brandon Allen's 27 years old. You gotta like that. Let's get into the actual action of what we saw. We kind of saw what I think a majority of people. I mean, I think, and you guys know, if you guys watch the previous show, I don't really follow the odds too much, other than Ben saying it for 5 seconds on the preview show. But I know Brandon Allen was a pretty hefty favorite. I think it was like over 3-1, maybe even 4-1. Like, he was a pretty hefty favorite. And I think that's what we saw. I mean, he dominated this fight. It looked a lot like I expected, on the feet, absolute mismatch. I mean, Paul Craig does what he does with his chin kind of high in the air, taking unnecessary damage. Brandon Allen was way too fast for him, picking him apart, landing shots, hurt him, rocked him a couple times. When they had scrambles, it was Craig on top, raining down punishment, kind of like what we expected. He's just, he's a much better athlete than Paul Craig. He's a better wrestler. He's faster. He hits harder. He's got better cardio. So I don't think anything we saw tonight shocks you, or I think there's a lot of people that won't get too excited generally in Brandon Allen, but I'm actually going to be a little excited in him because there's things we expect to see, and usually the things we expect to see doesn't always happen. It's nice when we see it. We see a guy who's better than someone in every area and then dominates in every area. Like even in the moment when he got in the calf slicer, I feel better about Brandon Allen because we've seen how much of a threat Paul Craig is when he gets the smallest opening. I mean, he submitted in my opinion, one of the best light heavyweights in the world, possibly the biggest threat to become the champion in Magomed Ankalaev. And all it took was a brief moment, and he catches a submission on him. That wasn't the case with Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen stayed calm in a really tough position, found a way to get out of it, and wins. So when I think of Brandon Allen, he's not, when you think of the top guys in the division, like a guy like Israel Adesanya, if we're ranking, like Ben always likes to say a video game. If we were making a video game of a fighter and you went to striking, Israel Adesanya would be like a 10 at striking, kicking, 10 or something. Brandon Allen wouldn't be. He'd be like an 8 across the board, like an 8 in wrestling, an 8 in jiu-jitsu, an 8 in cardio, whatever, fill in all the blanks. But the way the division is right now, an 8 across the board might be enough. Like it might be enough to become a champion. And I'm going to throw this out to the chat. Do you, and I want to be very clear. This is not predicting. You're not saying I predict Brandon Allen will become UFC champion, but just a yes and no answer. Can he become a UFC champion? Like if a year from now, Brandon Allen's the UFC champion, or a year and a half from now, Brandon Allen's the UFC champion, would that shock you? Because it wouldn't for me. With Sean Strickland, I mean, I just think what Sean Strickland did. So I want to make clear. So yes means you think he can win the title. No means no. He beat Paul Craig. Don't get too excited, Keith. Don't live in the moment. Don't do what you always do and over exaggerate and everything. But when you saw what Sean Strickland did, a guy that a year and a half ago, or even less than that, was losing to Jared Cannonier in a kind of ho-hum type fight, I don't think anybody was saying he's going to win the title and he's going to outstrike Israel Adesanya. Dricus du Plessis is a guy that I've always said has huge holes in his game, especially in his striking defense. And I haven't done the tape study on that, so I'm not making any predictions. But he could win that fight. Like, I don't know what the betting line is, but I'm assuming it's, I know there's future lines, and you know what? Yeah, how about this? What the fuck? We're breaking rules today. Let me see if I can find what the betting line, or you know what? Someone in the chat, actually, because you guys know I'm not a betting guy, but if someone can find in the chat, tell me what the betting line is between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. I'm assuming it's probably close to a pick. But if someone in the chat wants to look that up for me, I'd appreciate that. But the point is either way, if say it's even, he's a plus 150 underdog, he's still in the that realm where it really is a good possibility that he could win. And if Brandon Allen suddenly, Dricus du Plessis gets hurt, and I know Chimaev's dealing with some injuries, and he's obviously not a guy that can just jump and make weight short notice. All of a sudden, they call Brandon Allen, and Brandon Allen gets that late notice. Like, he'd win that fight. He could win the title. Am I crazy? Am I crazy for saying that? So I'm going to read some answers. Ben Cooley says absolutely yes. That meaning that Brandon Allen could. Bass is going with could. One Fell Door saying he'll at least get a title shot. Dirty Reg saying he's got a nice game, so I'm assuming that means yes. Jay Stamps is saying yes. Depending, One Fell Door kind of adds to his. It depends on the style matchup. Yeah, of course, I totally agree. So sometimes being champion is not being best in the world; it's being the best in the right night at the right moment in the right fight. Being. If we went over, and we're not going to do this now, but if we went over all the champions in the UFC history, who was at the right place at the right time, got the right phone call against the right opponent, that happens a lot. And I apologize if I pronounce everybody's names wrong. Ben is much better with the pronunciation. Mitchell Luss is saying no, so he's not believing in Brandon Allen yet. One of the photos still mentioning he's under 30, which is kind of my thing. Bass coming in big, finding the betting lines. Strickland -155, Duplessis +135. So yeah, I can okay. Like so, it's a close. The point is it's a very close fight, and that line might get closer. It might get wider too. Obviously, we're really far away. AK-47 Bong UFO. Okay, nice job. Ellen is good. Chin is sus. I'm assuming that's like short for suspect. Well, okay. So could win the title, but he's got some holes, and I think right now middleweight division you could say that about a lot of guys. Ben goes in the division. I don't know who I'm comfortable. I'm just picking to beat him. That's a good question. So let's throw that up. Let's throw it to the chat. And you know what? I'll make a cheap little plug for our website. We'll go to sherdog.com. I'm gonna pull this up as we go. There is a way I can share the screen. I don't know. You guys want me to try it? I know there's a way I can share the screen. I'm not the most techie guy, but let's see. Think I can try it? Let's see. Nope. What's this? Picture-in-picture layout. What does that do? That did nothing. Did that do anything? Did that do anything to you guys? Did I hit a button? I didn't see it. Didn't change anything on my screen, but did that change anything on your screen? Okay. Anyways, I maybe next time I do a live show, I'll play around a little bit ahead of time and kind of get be able to show the screen, because I know there's a way I can show the share my screen and show the UFC ranking. Let's do this. Let's start at 10 and say we'll have a little fun, because guys, it's not too much. Once we get to the prelims, we'll kind of blow through it. But right now, yes and no. Well, let's start with guys. Let's see, where's he ranked? Oh, I just looked. He's not in our rankings. Wow. Okay. So let's start at 10 anyways. Roman Dolidze. Right now, who would you pick? Roman Dolidze or Brendan Allen? Because I'm going and put the name in there, because just put Allen or Dolidze. I'm probably taking Allen right now, because I don't trust Dolidze's guess. And this is no tape study, so if they fight down the road, don't say you took them. But the gas tank of Dolidze is concerning. The way he strikes is concerning. Bob Simpson is going with Dolidze easily. So John, he's not a Jay Stance is going to Dolidze. Bass is going to. Okay, so I'm on an island here. Everyone's going. AK is going with Allen. So all right, let's see. Let's go up. Paulo Costa. I mean, everyone would favor Allen over Costa right now, right? Like, can we save some time? Is there any? How about this? We'll do this. I'm assuming everyone's going to take Paulo Costa. Take Allen over Paulo Costa. If you don't, just post. If you think Paulo Costa would just write Costa in the message board, in the chat. And Big Marcel just jumped in saying, "Oh, the grappling, what dream for you, bro?" Yeah, I know. You know what? There was a big international, big U.S. tournament to get the Olympic qualifier, a huge one. I won't talk about it. Spencer Lee showed up. I haven't got to watch it. I watched the highlights, but Spencer Lee looks back, and that's huge for American wrestling. So that's all I'll say. Because, so we'll move on to the next matchup. Marvin Vettori. So, Brendan Allen, Marvin Vettori. Just put in the message, Vettori, Allen, who you think would win. Some guys are still on the other ones. One foot out the door is going to Dolidze. I think Big Marcel. I think Big Marcel is a secret fan of wrestling. AK-47 Bong UFO. I'm gonna have to call you AK, because I can't keep saying that all night. He's staying with Allen, so he's on the Allen train. Crimus Rock, like that name too. I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Is going with Allen. Ben Cooley's the tough one. I agree. Nicholas going Vettori. Jay Stamps is going Allen. So Jay Stamps likes Allen over Vettori, but not necessarily over Dolidze. So he's not going exactly with the rankings, which is understandable. Bob Simpson is so far the only guy to take Costa. Bob Simpson is not believing in Brandon Allen right now. Let's move on. Did people put into did anybody take Vettori? Did anybody take Vettori over? I know some people say it was tough, but it seemed like a lot of people going Allen over Vettori. I'm sorry. There was somebody taking Vettori. I'm scrolling through quick, and I apologize for missing the person who posted Vettori. It's much easier when you have two. Michaelis, I mentioned, but it's taking Vettori, so it seems like they're not on necessarily. Bob Simpson's taking over, so we got Bob Simpson. Here's probably the toughest matchup, I think, and we'll stop here. I don't want to go all the way to the division, but we'll stop here. Jared Cannonier. I mean, that's a tough stylistic matchup. I kind of feel like they're in that same realm of skill and in that category where either guy could win the title one day. I don't think a lot of people are picking them to win the title one day, but it's a possibility. So last one, Cannonier versus Brandon Allen, and if this matchup happens, I'm not going to hold it against you. Hey, I remember that day you picked Brandon Allen, or maybe that day you picked Cannonier. Like, obviously, we'll go to the tape study and go from there. But Krimis likes Allen over Jared. Bass doing his best politician. He said he's very similar in profile to Allen. Not making a pick. Just saying Cannonier is tough for anyone. Big Marcel, I will get to that guy later because I always get that up my sleeve. Ben Cooley is going with Cannonier. AK, is worried about the power of Cannonier, so he's so it seems like everyone's on Cannonier on this one. So Krimis seems like the only one really favoring Allen, saying he's got more weapons. Dev says Cannonier clubs Allen. Mike, one thing I would like to mention about Allen versus Cannonier, and again, we don't know if that's the next matchup or anything, but Jared Cannonier is 39 years old. He turns 40 in March. Still 4 months from now, but he turns 40 soon. Probably that's if that's the next matchup, that's probably about the time. So around Jared Cannonier's 40th birthday is when these two guys would face each other. Brandon Allen is 27. Maybe he turns 20. I'm not really sure. I didn't check his birthday. 40 years old that could end overnight. All the skill, all the speed, power probably not so much, but everything else could end quick. If he loses just a little bit of speed, that could be a favor of Brandon Allen. So Bob Simpson is hating on Brandon Allen. Big Marcel is going with Allen over Jared. Dev's mentioning that Cannonier is a heavyweight. So Ninja Kitty is asking, I'll throw this question up there because this is obviously a stupid question. Allen versus Nickel. I mean, we all know Bo Nickel wins that one. I didn't think I was. Yeah, I said I wasn't going all the way up the division. I didn't go all the way to the top for a reason. But I think I favor Brandon Allen based on the age. That thing which really stand out to me. One for the top mentioned Jared fading. I think that's a little blown out of proportion. But the way Brandon Allen fights, Brandon Allen's on the gas the whole time. And we'll get into a lot of that later. But yeah, so before we move on, let's get this guy his stupid purple shorts. I just don't want to do another. I don't want to do another who's the guy there, the hillbilly there. I can't think of his name. The featherweight, the Earthless flat guy. What's his name? I could picture him. He wanted the camo shorts and all that nonsense. I don't want another year of hearing him begging for purple shorts. Just get him stupid purple shorts already. You win a main event, you get your purple shorts. So let's get into the actual matchmaking of the Bryce Mitchell. Thank you guys, Bryce Mitchell. I actually think that Cannonier fight makes a lot of sense. So if I'm the UFC, I looked at who's matched up. Certain guys are matched up. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna do Brandon Allen versus Jared Cannonier. I'm gonna do it probably a fight night main event. Make it 5 rounds. the winner of them is maybe, because when I think about the division, obviously Dracus du Plessis fighting for the title. The UFC promised Chimaev that he'll be next for the title shot. Obviously, that didn't happen. It might be a little bit more of your next fight is for the title, because I know he got some injuries and whatnot. So yeah, and I take UFC promises as far as I can throw them, but being who it is, Chimaev, there's a lot of buzz in that guy. So I think he'd probably get the next matchup. So Cannonier versus Brendan Allen, that could be like third in line. Now, of course, Izzy could always come back, and who knows? Maybe Alex Pereira loses his next title, somehow comes back to middleweight, though I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's just way too big, but you never know. Who knows? But yeah, that's the fight I would do. I would do Jared Cannonier. So throw in the chat. Just give me like one word. Who, if you're the matchmaker, and you know how this goes. This isn't, they wouldn't fight each other because they're former training partners. They wouldn't fight each other because of whatever. We don't do that here. We're the supreme rulers. They said in an interview with, whoever that they want to fight this guy, and that's the only guy they're waiting for. We don't do that here. We're the supreme emperor of the world. No one can say no. Put in the chat who you would match Brandon Allen with next. I'm going with Jared Cannonier. Let's see. I'll throw some of the ones out there. There's a couple jokes out there right now. I guess it's unanimous with Jared Cannonier. I don't know. I was wondering if someone would throw Robert Whitaker's name in there, or delete say, or something like that. AK Bond going with the former UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. If Kamaru Usman stays at middleweight, which I don't think is a bad move for him, based on 2 losses to the current champ. Now, if Colby Covington wins the title, that kind of changes things. The scenario for Usman, I still think he'd have to win, even though he'd have 2 wins over Colby Covington. I still think, based on his recent run at welterweight and middleweight, he still might win, but maybe that drives him back to welterweight. But if Leon Edwards wins, I understand it's 2 wins to 1, but it's 2 in a row for Leon Edwards. Usman's up there in age, so he might be easier for him to fight at middleweight. I like that matchup. So Jay Stamps goes with Vittori, another guy we mentioned. Krimis going, I think he's saying Whitaker. He says Whitaker can win. I think he's coming off a loss to Dracus du Plessis, but with Izzy, who knows what's going on with him? He's sitting out, and he's talking about 4 years of kind of shit. Obviously, I think Whitaker's still in the mix of a title shot, based on he needs a win or 2, but he's back in there. One foot out the door. I went with also Whitaker. There's a big discussion on Woburn. I don't know, going off the rails. Bob Simpson, yes, he is trolling. Usually Bob Simpson's pretty good, but he's trolling pretty hard. Ice Viking goes with Bobby Knuckles, aka Robert Whitaker. Let's move on the other side, because say what you want about Paul Craig, he's a character. You watch his interviews, and interviews are entertaining. The face paint is entertaining. The stare downs are entertaining. When he gets over, he is entertaining. He's a guy, like, he has this, he's trying to do this Mel Gibson, thing going on with what was that movie? Braveheart, kind of thing. He has that look, with the hair and the painted face and everything. But the way he fights, he's like Mel Gibson in like a romantic comedy instead. I don't know. Did Mel Gibson do any romantic comedies? That's kind of the way he fights. Bass goes with Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum's actually down to welterweight again. I know we're doing Supreme Rule, so that is possible, but I'm gonna go with another character, and I would match Paulo Costa. I'm sorry, I'm gonna match Paul Craig with Paulo Costa, just because I think the build-up for the fight would be crazy. Them saying crazy things, the stare down. I know you can't count on Paulo Costa. I know there's been talk about him. He's supposed to fight Chimaev, and then there was talk about him fighting Drake. Delete, and who knows? He might be fighting up at light heavyweight. He might be fighting, you know, North Pole. Like, who knows what's going on with that guy? But I think would Paulo Costa beat the piss out? I think he probably would. But the buildup would be fun as hell, wouldn't it? You know, Dirty Rag saying they both suck. Chris says Paulo Costa would kill him if he made weight. I agree. So I'm not saying it's an equal fight. I'm just saying if I'm the UFC and I have been accused of this, of willing to sacrifice people, I think that would be the case. Ben Cooley mentions Chris Wyman. I think somebody else also mentions Chris Wyman. That might be the only fight where Paul Craig would actually be favored right now, or Chris Wyman. I don't want to see Chris Wyman fight again. He's legend of the floor. He had a nice run. There was a time when there was actually talk about whether he could surpass Anderson Silva as the greatest middleweight ever. When he beat Anderson Silva twice, he beat Lyoto Machida, he beat Vitor Belfort. He dominated those guys. There was talk. Unfortunately, Luke Rockhold changed that. And he was never the same fighter again. I think he's won one fight since he lost the title. I know he beat Kelvin Gastelum. I think that's the only win he's had since then. I don't want to see him. I'd like to see him more. I mean, if you watch when he hosts that the ESPN weigh-in show, he's actually pretty good. He's got a really good personality. He's really funny. I'd like to see the UFC use him more. Maybe get him, make him a character, kind of like a Forrest Griffin type thing. But yeah, that probably if you were trying to get Paul Craig a win, I mean, he probably. I mean, I guess Chris Wyman could probably still grapple. I don't know. I just don't want to see him win. So let's move on. The rest of the fights, guys, it will probably be much faster than we just talk about the middleweight, the main event, the middleweight matchup. In the co-main event, Jake Matthews took on Michael Morales. Michael Morales won a unanimous decision. The guy's 16-0. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked sharp. I tweeted out that it was just a clean victory. Like, it wasn't a spectacular one. It's not one, 3 years from now you're going to remember and it's not going to be like a lot of highlights on it. But to me, he was fast. He was accurate, powerful. He moved well. Nice jab. Obviously, he's got a long reach. He looks like a guy that's going to make it into top 15 and be a really tough matchup for a lot of guys. Like, again, I don't think people are going to be going crazy about his performance tonight. It just looked like to me it was a guy who took on a tough guy and outclassed him everywhere, and kind of played it safe. Kind of when an NFL team is up in the fourth quarter, that they're handing off to the running back, they're letting the clock get way down. They probably could score 1 or 2 more touchdowns, but they're kind of playing it safe. Right now, Big Marcel saying, what the hell are you talking about? But Morales was, he's kind of faced those B-level welterweights. He hasn't stepped up to the A-level guys. But when we think about the division, I think this guy's right there. Like, after tonight, I was convinced of it. I see a lot of really good tools. One thing that stood out to me was his fight IQ, and in little moments that were so, I thought he was winning the first and second round, but he did something at the end of both rounds that was really impressive to me. In the first round, he went for a takedown late because maybe the round is close, a little closer than I think. Maybe if I get a takedown, I definitely secure it. Looks good at the end. Second round, same thing. It's kind of that was probably one of the closer rounds. I still had him winning, but like one huge moment from Matthews or something could win that round. Maybe he gets rocked, and Morales steps on the gas. He throws a big flurry at the end, and the round ends with him like throwing like an 8-punch combination. Not all of them landed, but it just looks good. Like, to me, he feels like a guy who knows how to win rounds. Being smart, doing the right things. I think he looks good. I'm putting him and we'll this will be the question for this matchup. Do you put him in that realm of prospects, or I shouldn't even say prospects, but like newer guys, the guys who are kind of new to the division or new to the top of the rankings? And to give you some context, I'm talking about Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm talking about Sean Brady. I'm talking about Jack Della Maddalena. I'm saying Ian Gary. I'm not saying that he beats those guys. So that I know a lot of people probably have Rachmanov ahead of those guys. He's ahead of them in the rankings. So I want to be very, very clear. What I'm saying is he in that category where he's a threat, where there's a passing of a guard, where guys like Stephen Thompson and Gilbert Burns, I think the loser of Edwards versus Covington, those guys are kind of going to be on their way out of the division or out of the top of the, like the running. And these are the new wave, because I view him just as good as those guys, in that. I don't know if I'm being as clear what I'm trying to say. Well, Garrett Clemens is asking about the Beltran stuff. We'll get to that. Unfortunately, we kind of have a set order. So this is your first time. So pretty cool. Thanks for joining. Let me throw it up there. Thanks for joining, man. We'll get to that. Usually we go from the top fight, we go work all the way down. I have plenty to say. So a little teaser there. And I'm very interested in what you have to say about that. I'm sure a lot of people are very upset about that. But I want to continue on Morales. So just things I really liked. And when I'm talking about guys in the division, Ian, I don't know if I favor him over Ian Gary. I don't know if I favor him over Rachmanov. Gary's interesting. I definitely don't favor him over Rachmanov. But I think I feel better about him than Sean Brady. I might feel better. I'm not sure, but I mean, maybe over Jack Della Maddalena. Do you guys agree? Like, do you agree with me that Morales is? Yeah. Okay. How about this? Just Brady versus Morales. Who do you like better? Not they fought each other one-on-one. Just mean as a prospect in the division, who do you like better, Morales or Brady? Because I like Morales. I'm gonna throw it in the chat. One word answers. One foot out the door saying Ian Gary's stock is dropping. I don't know what he's talking about, especially when he beats Vicente Luque in a couple. Was it a couple weeks? Nicolaitis likes Morales more. Garrett Clemens likes Morales over Brady. Again, I'm not saying like if they fought each other stylistic, just moving forward. The guy that if you were buying stock, if you're doing a fantasy draft and you had to draft one of them, Chris Smith likes Jack. He's already moved to my next question, which is Maddalena, but okay, that's fine. Matthew Clark likes Morales. Bass actually is going with Brady having the more upside. Michelle Pay is another guy we didn't mention, but he kind of fits in that category. I'm sorry, guys, I have a little bit of cold that time of year. Rodrigo Mardones. I'm sorry, that might be Rodrigo. This the natural of watching MMA and seeing the R and pronouncing the H. But if it's Rodrigo or Rodrigo, put in the comment H or R, and I'll pronounce it correctly the rest of the way. He goes Morales. Dirty Rag saying how good of a matchup Morales versus JDM would be. One for Altoro goes Morales. Yeah, I agree. Let's change it. Let's do Jack Della Maddalena. Oh, Rodrigo. Okay, so I apologize for pronouncing it Rodrigo. Rodrigo. And if I add it like muscle memory, if you comment later and I say Rodrigo, I apologize because I do definitely want to say your name correctly. Let's do Jack Della Maddalena. So let's go. Who not if they fought each other, who would win? Just who do you like better in the division moving forward, Morales or Jack Della Maddalena? Again, I want to be honest. This is no tape study. If they fight each other and I dig in the tape, I might change my mind. But I like Morales. Bass likes Morales better, and I don't know if that was always the case. You go back, 6 months ago, I might have been taking Jack Della Maddalena. But I like Morales. I think he looks really sharp. He hasn't been tested. He's kind of beaten everybody pretty clean. Garrett Clemens likes Morales, saying the highest stock for a prospect in my eyes. I don't know if he's counting. He might not be counting Rachmanov as a prospect. But yeah. Oh, in the whole division. So yeah, okay. Christmas Rock, I apologize again. Saying Jack Della has the experience, Morales has the youth. Yeah, that's true. Bass talking about how legit win over Jake Matthews. I agree. That said, let's actually talk to the side of Matthews. I thought one thing that stood out to me, we talked about. Guys, I'm sorry, I really bad call. Sorry, guys. we talked about the good IQ from Morales. I thought Matthews had really bad fight IQ. I mean, when I look at Morales, I mean, I see the guy's got, I mean, he's shredded, big muscles, everything. If I'm him and I'm Jake Matthews, with that long reach, with everything that Morales carries, I'm going to try to close the distance. I'm going to try to wrestle. That's something that Matthews is very good at. And not necessarily, you might not necessarily get the takedowns because Matthews is, very strong guy. So far his takedown defenses look good, but just making him work in those positions, maybe clinch, work against the cage, but having a standing kickboxing match from distance is the worst way to fight this guy. I mean, the amount of punches Matthews was throwing that was just landing in that mid range in between them, that like staring range in between them. And Morales was so easy, just moving out of the way, like floating out, moving his head. Garrett Clemens mentions, why didn't Matthews try to take that? I don't know. I'm with you, man. Like I don't know if he doubted himself to be able to take it down, and he thought his best avenue was probably hurt him with a big shot, because Matthews got some power on him, and there was one or two times he landed some big shots. I don't get it. Crimus Rock's kind of saying the same thing. Ninja Kitty saying Matthews look one dimensional. I agree. I can't, and that's not usually when you mention Morales being one dimensional, it's the other way. It's he's wrestled like too much. Yeah, I was really surprised about that. Let me ask you this question, and I should have done this when Ben was here, because I've said this for a really long time now, that from between bantamweight to welterweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight, those are the four best divisions. Rank them however you want to rank them, but those are the four best divisions. To me, with fifth being flyweight. I don't think flyweight, based on just overall depth, the talent is just as good, but the depth isn't there. So I think that's why they take fifth. But I've said for a really long time that bantamweight was the best division, because the storyline for a real long time was lightweight was the best division for forever. It seemed like 10 years, 12 years, it was lightweight's the best division, and for a long time it was true. And I really think bantamweight took over. But now the more I look at welterweight, I'm starting to think welterweight is the best division, in the sense of what's the word I'm looking for? What's it called when like there's a lot of people equal? What's that called? I'm sorry, Ben would have got this right away, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no one guy way above everybody else. There's a lot of equalness. I know that's not the word I'm looking for, but like Leon Edwards could lose the belt to Colby Covington. Colby Covington could lose the belt to Bilal Muhammad. Meritocracy? Is it meritocracy? I'm sorry. This is why parody. There you go. Thank you, Jacob. Parody. That's what I was going. Appreciate you, Jacob. You see why I don't write a lot for Sherdog anymore, because just for those reasons. You know what I used to do when I wrote? I would write down a word, and then I would look up different words, and I would keep notes in my phone. So when I wrote down certain words, I'd go to my phone and see if I had like notes on different words I'd use, or I'd have these like slogans or sayings and I would add it to my writing. And they still had to edit it and make me seem a lot more intelligent than the original article I sent to them. But I'm more on this side to talk about it. And even then, I'm not that good at it. So, but I mean, when I think about how strong this division is, with Colby and with Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad, and old veterans that still excite me, like Gilbert Burns and Stephen Thompson is still fun. And then you added all like this new crop of guys, the Sean Brady's, the Shavkat, the Jack Della Maddalena, the Ian Gary. I know a lot of people. I like Ian Gary. I think he looks good, and he's got a good personality, big person. I mean, whether you like his personality or not, he's got the personality to get you to react to him. Michael Morales, I know MVP, there's rumors. I mean, he's been around, and he seems like he's at UFC events. Seems like it's going to happen. I don't know what's going on with that, but maybe MVP gets added. Michael Venom Page from Bellator gets added to the division. maybe Usman moves back down. Who knows? Maybe Chimaev, it doesn't work out for him in middleweight and he moves back. I don't think that's going to happen, but maybe Chimaev comes back. Kevin Holland's got personality. There's just, to me, it's such a good division. So we'll throw in the chat. Gary Clemens talking about the welterweight prospects and everything. Best division. I'm going to say middleweight. Just one, no, all right, just not middleweight, excuse me, welterweight. I'm going to say welterweight. I'm going to say welterweight's the best division right now, currently MMA. Throw at yours. I might roast you if you go outside of the four I said. But yeah, I'm gonna go welterweight. I think welterweight's the best division. And then while I'm doing that, I'm gonna matchmake a little bit. When I was looking at the guys in the division, a lot of them are Ben Cooley goes bantamweight. There's and that's my other one. Jeff Pelton goes bantamweight. Yeah, I've been leading the pack with the bantamweight argument. I just think I'm switching over right now. Nicolas goes bantamweight. Okay. Matthew Koch goes lightweight. Lightweight's sexy. Like it's a sexy division. When you go to the top, when you think about Makhachev and Oliveira and Gaethje and Poirier and then the kind of newer crop, your guys like Sarukian and those those guys, and now you add in Saint Denis and then obviously you have Connor and then Chandler and so lightweight obviously there. Matthew Mack goes welterweight. One foot goes says not a lot of bad matchups at welterweight. Rodrigo Mardones goes lightweight. Big Marcel being stupid. Garrett Clemens goes lightweight. Okay, so most people within those four. No one said featherweight, but okay. Let's matchmake. Give me one name that you would give to Morales moving forward. So I was looking at the division, and this is not the guy that I thought heading into that I would go with, but it was more of who's around, who's available, who I know will always say yes, and that's Kevin Holland. I would go with Kevin Holland. Yeah, it's a fun stylistic matchup. He's always tough. I kind of wanted to avoid the prospects. I wanted to give him a name. I thought about Michael Chiesa. I don't really that does much for Michael Morales other than giving him a name. Vicente Luque was a guy I thought of. He's booked. RDA maybe. So, but I go with Kevin Holland. Bass agrees with me at Kevin Holland. Rodrigo Mardones goes with the prospect. I mean, sometimes you can't avoid the prospects forever. Ninja Kitty goes with the Neil Magny, which is always. I feel like when we do matchmaking at welterweight, Neil Magny is always the answer. It's like Neil Magny is the answer at welterweight. Brad Tavares is the answer at middleweight. Big Marcel goes Ponzinibbio. Sorry, I had to mute my mic so I can yell at my kids for a second. So you guys in here talking, hopefully. So, I mean, when you get to welterweight, it's just so you can't make a bad matchup. Garrett Clemens just mentioned Jeff Neal. Sign me up for that. That works. Good stand-up matchup. Dirty Reg's going way up, throwing right to Gilbert Burns, which is bold. So, all right, let's move on. I had to yell at my kids once more time. My wife's not here to keep them in line, so Daddy, this early fight card does that to me. Let's go with the battle of, I don't know. Some would say lovable characters. Some would say, I don't know. So, like a lot of people love Chase Hooper. A lot of people hate Chase Hooper. A lot of people love Jordan Leavitt. A lot of people hate Jordan Leavitt. I don't want to say I hate either one of them. Of course not. But Chase Hooper won. It was a really fun scramble fest as it lasted, with Chase Hooper getting a first round submission over Jordan Leavitt. I don't know how I feel about Chase Hooper. Now, the guy, he's on a winning streak, which is really surprising. He's only 24. As Chris Rock mentioned, like, dude's growing. I'm still not a believer. you know. Um, I s- I still see a poor athlete. I still see a guy with some big striking holds. He's still got a weak wrestling. He's got jujitsu. I mean, he showed that he out grappled a good grappler tonight in Jordan Leavitt. Jay Stams mentioned nerd versus virgin. I think both are nerds. Apparently, both of them are married with women having babies. So I'm hoping that neither one of them is a virgin. If that's the case. But uh, Bass still talks about not physically strong. Um, yeah, and I feel like he won tonight because Levitt gave him exactly the fight he needed. Now, I've been killing Jordan Levitt on the previous shows. If anybody who follows the previous shows, I know there's a couple guys in here do. I've been picking against Jordan Levitt for a long time. I've been bashing his stand up, and then suddenly he started to show improved stand up. Going into the fight, you talk about the interviews, and he went over to Extreme Couture, and the big thing was, I've worked on my stand up. I want to show my well roundedness. This is the guy that he probably had better stand up with. And he's probably a better athlete. Like everything he lacks in other fights was opposite in this fight. Usually he's the better grappler, but a terrible striker, a bad gas tank, a a terrible athlete. He was a better athlete than I think he's a better athlete. He might not be, but he's hits harder. He's a better striker. But he doesn't use that avenue, and he goes right after wrestling. And then what drove me crazy was Hooper was getting submission attempts. Levitt gets out a couple and didn't go, wow, maybe I shouldn't play this game. No, he'll roll a knee for a knee bar. He's like Granby rolling. He's doing everything he shouldn't do. And he should be trying to disengage and keep it on the feet. He's bigger. He's more muscular. He's stronger. And he fought exactly how Chase Hooper wanted him to fight. And Hooper, caught a submission and a really good submission. And much as I like to bash on Hooper, and this guy still has 4, 5, 6 wins, something like that in the UFC. I know Ben said it. It's more than you think. Ben said it the other night on the preview show. So like that says a lot. And he's only 24. I mean, we've seen him grow up, in the UFC. Didn't have much of a career afterwards. Started so young. The guy's record in the UFC. I mean, he's 5-3. Dude's 5-3 in the UFC. Like, I can't believe that. The guy's 5-3. So, he's 24. I'm always preaching. Don't give up on the young guys. So, I'll throw it to you guys. Believe or don't believe? Do you believe in Chase Hooper? I don't believe. Nah. And then now, what does that mean? What does it mean? Do I believe in him? Like, do I think he's going to win the title? I don't think anybody in the chat. I'm assuming no one in the chat thinks he's going to be a champion one day. Do I think he's going to be, top 5 guy, top 10 guy, top 15 guy? No. But I mean, does anybody believe? Put what you want. So I don't know. Interpret that how you want. Like, is he a threat? Is beating Chase? How about that? This will define it. Is beating Chase Hooper a good win? Like, you fight in the UFC and you're rising prospect, and you win and you beat Chase Hooper in that division. That makes you something special. Like, oh wow, he beat Chase Hooper. Do you believe that's a good win, or you don't believe? So West Coast doesn't believe. Michaelides doesn't believe. Rodrigo says he'll never be ranked. Matthew Chalk's going way out, going 26 fights in the UFC. He's going 11-15 at best, or maybe I don't know if that's his career or in the UFC. Bass is saying, like, I can't count how many that is, like 1,000,000,000% not a prospect. West Coast goes to any win is good. Yeah, I get that, but let's see. Crimus Rock saying nothing special beating Chase Hooper. Ice Viking. I like that. We'll never break top 5. Totally agree with that. Garrett Clemens is the only one giving a little bit of love, saying that if he went down to featherweight, he could make some noise. Possibly. I think as he gets older, though, that his body might fill out. That might not be tough. Matthew Mack, Matthew Mack is going top 15 one day. He's only 24. That's true. We've written off young guys before, and we've seen it. And I mean, guys who haven't been around for a really long time, like me and Ben and Baran have been in this game for a long time, watching MMA. I've been watching MMA since I was a teenager. 13 years old. Now I have a 13-year-old. So there was a time, and I know people who watch the show know I'm going to bring this up. There was a time people wrote off Robbie Lawler as a busted prospect because he went on a losing streak, and then obviously he comes back in the UFC, wins the UFC title. One of the most fun action guys of all time, one of the true legend. I don't know anybody who doesn't like him. So, I think it's not apples and oranges. So I want to be clear. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be Robbie Lawler because I think Robbie Lawler, even when he first showed up, had a higher upside. Chris Rock says gatekeeper at best. John Butterfield saying fun guy to book. Yeah, he's fun. He's always, even in his losses, he's been fun. I mean, he's always been tough as hell. I think it was Alex Caceres. He got the brakes beat off him and just kept coming. I think it was Alex Caceres. Dirt Rag is trying to get young. Dirt Rag what did Chase Hooper do to you? Saying throw him to Dan Hooker and see what we got. Dan Hooker is fighting Bobby Green. But after that, he wants Dan Hooker to face Chase Hooper. I'm not like humongous on Dan Hooker, but holy Christ, I think Dan Hooker would destroy him. Basco India 2035 lightweight champion, Chase Hooper. So West Coast saying once you saw Leaves, he can bulk up a little bit. Okay. The comments are going really good. So I'm trying to keep up, trying to get as many as I can. Dirty Red goes Jim Miller. You know what? I actually like that matchup. I'll tell you why. UFC 300 is not that far away. I think what's it going to be? April, I think. Is it March or April? I'm not sure. I'm sure Big Marcel probably or Big Marcel's got it all noted out and know. But around that time, around April, I think. I can figure that out. The 97. Oh, I don't know. Whatever. I can't figure it out. Jay Stamps goes Terrence McKinney. But Jim Miller, needs an opponent for UFC 300. He'd fight at UFC 100, UFC 200, and UFC 300, which would be pretty cool. Chase would be the name. It would, don't give some some Brazilian guy we never heard of, or with a 101 record in the UFC, or some guy that doesn't really excite you. Like, give Jim Miller a name, but also don't give someone Jim Miller will murder, or vice versa, and give someone that Jim Miller would get murdered. Okay, so Big Marcel does. I knew Marcel was on 300 April. That's what I thought. April. That makes a lot of sense. So shout out to who was that said Jim Miller originally? Was it Dirty Rag? Dirty Rag. Nice. I like that. Nice matchmaking. Jim Miller. You know what? Let's make that happen. Let's tweet out to the UFC. Jim Miller, Chase Hooper, UFC 300. Big Marcel saying actually booked, but not for 300. What are we talking about? Who's he booked against? Miller is actually booked. Now, I don't know if this is big breaking news from Big Marcel. But if the UFC does not have Jim Miller, the guy who's been in the UFC long, most appearances and all this, if they don't have UFC Jim Miller at UFC 300, then shame on them, because that does not make sense at all. But okay, Hooper and Miller, let's make it happen. Let's move on. Nick Aguirre took on Peyton Talbot. Peyton Talbot won by third round submission. And this is more of Jay Petrie thing, but a negative 800, over 800 favorite in his UFC debut. That is absolutely insane for Peyton Talbot. This is a guy, he's looked really good, incredible cardio, incredible pace. I mean, you look at his Contender Series fight. He beat Tracy Cortez's brother there, fought at one of the most insane output. But he still hasn't beat anybody. To come in at a negative 800 favorite in his debut, yeah, I think this kid looks good. Obviously, it's way too early to talk about top 50 or anything like that, but the kid looks really good, looks really promising. But I was shocked by those betting lines. I'm not a bettor. That's not my game. There's tons of people you can follow for that. Sean Sheehan gives out betting advice. Jay Petrie gives out betting advice. I get a lot of friends. Ian Parker is a guy who works at ESPN that I've been friends with for years. Really good dude. He gives a lot of betting advice if you like that. Garrett Kerman's a guy that I like. He's a friend of mine. He gives out betting advice. I know Big Marcel does some previews. I think he does a little bit of betting on that. So there's a lot of guys for betting. That's not me, but if I am a bettor, I would have sprinkled, on Nick and Gary. And I thought Gary had the perfect idea was come out, wrestle him, try to time out, wrestle him. I thought he had a good strategy in the first. I think he had a terrible strategy in the second. And what I mean by that is his second was just wrestle, but now, and Talbot's know what's coming. Talbot isn't Francis Ngannou. Like, he didn't want to stand with him at all. And, he's not, if you watch him fight, he's not a power, but now he's got a lot of knockouts, but his knockouts were like we saw on the Contender Series, where it's just tons of offense coming at you, and he folds you with just a pure like swarm of punches. He's not like catching on your chin, knock you out, you're laying face first. I think Gary should open up his hands a little bit more, maybe follow his hands into his shots, and maybe he gets a takedown and he gets another round, and it would set up his takedown, set up his grappling, and set up his control. He didn't do that. He was just shooting from distance, no setup. Big Marcel made a joke about me liking wrestling. I'm a wrestling coach. I'm wrestling 3 days a week. Wrestling season's coming up. I'll be there even more. It's just started now, so I'm there even more. Like, I love wrestling. It's what I do. Anybody knows there's a thing in stalling in wrestling, because if you wrestle so defensively, it's very hard to take you down. You have to offensive wrestle, and that's not the perfect example, but if I know you're going to shoot on me and all I have to do is defend your takedown, it makes it very easily. But if he had to defend his hands coming in, then the entries, or kind of have him guess between entries and, is he going to go high? Is he going to go low? I think it would have set up Gary's takedowns. That wasn't the case. And I think it was Paul Felder and Dominic Cruz was talking about Talbot. You're making a signal saying I'm going to break you with my cardio. That's exactly what he was a prophet when he said that, because that's exactly what he did. Because the second round, you could just see not just the cardio of Agua, but his like, yeah. You guys remember that movie, Ghost, with what the hell's his name? Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg and I don't know, that hot chick with the short hair, whatever her name was. Do you remember when they die and their person would like slowly spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen the movie. It only came out like 40 years ago, but the person would die and like this, like their like image would like slowly leak out of themselves. That's what it seemed like was happening with Gary. Like his spirit was just leaving him, going. Yeah, Demi Moore. There you go. Nice job. Hi, low. Demi Moore. Oh gosh, she was so hot back then. She's still hot. I'm assuming she's still hot. She's probably like 60 now, but that's how I felt like a Gary in the second. And then the third round was just like, like Mortal Kombat, ripping it, rip right in and just pull his whole heart out, finish him. Because when he got hurt in the third, and Talbot takes back, he wanted out. He was done. He broke him. Now, Talbot, it's really early. He's 1-0 in the UFC. Obviously, there's you don't come in the UFC at negative 800. No. I know that some of that has to do with your opponent. Like, the right opponent would obviously favor you. If you face someone else, he might not be as big of a favorite, but still, a negative 800 favorite. There's a lot of holes in his game. If you've seen his fights, you've seen his, Contender Series matchups. A lot of defensive holes. He gets hit a lot. But, dude, this guy's got some upside. I mean, if he can get some takedown defense, he can move his head a little bit. dude, his output, his mentality, like I'm down in the first, and then the way he fought the second was like on the gas, push him on his back foot, push him towards the cage. So it's not like he's getting entries in the middle of the cage, like in the first round. He's got to enter, off on his back foot. I mean, he looked good with the output, cardio break. And I'm going to tell you right now, that card is going to break a lot of people. Now, will he be able to sustain that for a long run? I don't know. Will he be able to sustain the damage I've seen him taking so far in his career? I don't know. I don't know how far this guy's going to go. But in the meantime, it's going to be fun as hell. Rick Allen says doesn't keep up with all the Hollywood tabloid shit. Like you guys, I'm putting that one up there. Nice job, buddy. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Ben is much better with the much better with the Hollywood stuff. I mean, I couldn't think of her name. Demi Moore. I didn't think Demi Moore. I'm about to add that to the tags to get Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, and she was married to Bruce Willis, I think, right? Speaking of married, my side wife, Amanda Hebos, took on Luana Pinheiro in a really, really fun matchup. As Amanda Hebos won by third round TKO. I loved how Pinheiro looked great early. I mean, she was landing hard shots. She was just fighting furious, just timing it up, teeing off, throwing haymakers, but just fast ones and looked good and hitting hard. I mean, she had a couple of judo throws late. She showed a lot of promise. Like she's a woman who lost, and I don't feel bad about. I don't think her stock fell. Like she's not going to be on my beers list later on. But I love it seemed like that, we don't talk about experience and craftiness, being in big moments, but I felt like that's what I saw from Hebus. Her back was against the wall about 2 minutes into the second round. It was like, oh, she already lost the first. She might lose a second. This might be, she's on a losing streak. This might be the end of Hebus, as a, top 10-ish fighter. And then she made the right adjustments. She seemed like a football coach who, at halftime got the team right, pull out the X's and O's and just pick the right game plan the right way. Her output increased. She switched her stance a lot, fought a lot more southpaw. She threw a lot more kicks, a lot more early in the first round. She was really struggling with the movement. And a good way to catch up with him is kick or throw combinations. Because if you struggle with the movement, the first punch misses, but the second and third one land. So she's throwing a lot more combinations, and she started taking over. Now, I'm going to say something, and this isn't going to be breaking news or anything like that, but I feel like it's something that's been kind of becoming more clear to me over the years. Like I always say, I go to the wrestling room and I watch wrestling, and this other people coach, and other, we get college kids come in, or actually Steve Maka was around this weekend. For you guys who know, he's an American top team head wrestling coach. He's a former Olympian, 4-time All-American, 4-time NCAA finalist, 2-time NCAA champion, Hodge Trophy winner. I mean, he's as good as wrestling gets. I mean, he's like, I always learn when I go to wrestling practice. I try to do the same thing with MMA. I try to learn and see the changes in MMA. The one thing that I feel the last maybe 6 months that have really, and it seemed like it should have been pretty obvious, but pressure to me is the best skill in MMA. Be able to fight with not just output. So I want to be clear, not just throwing out, but pressure. We saw it with Talbot. We saw it with Hebos. We're going to see with other fights, even going on. The ability to be on the bike, going hard, going faster than your opponent, having them fight at your pace, having them fight on their back foot, having them backing up. Pressure, in my opinion, might be the best skill in MMA. When I am stuck between two fighters, the person who fights with pressure, moving forward, attacking, they're most likely going to win. So what's going on? Some kind of going. I'm trying to keep up. I was going on a rant over here. I'm trying to keep up. I don't know what's going on. The chat is going off the rails. I don't know what's going on. Okay, let's go back to him. I missed what they were talking about. That said, do we feel better about Amanda Hebus? Because she was, she looked really good at flyweight for a while. Then she kind of hit some bumps. I know a lot of people thought she beat Caitlin Chikagian, but she hit some bumps. Got beat up bad by Macy Barber. Now back to strawweight. I definitely like her better at strawweight. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I feel kind of equal, but watching how she fought, again, I think she made the right adjustments, but I have concerns with the upper people in the division. Like Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang lands the shots that Pinheiro was landing. Weili Zhang puts her out. Yan Xiaonan puts her out. Tatiana Suarez is a tough matchup for anybody. So it's nice to see Hebus, and I want Hebus to go. I mean, how can you not want Hebus to go? She's so fun. Like the way she fights is fun. Her personality is fun. I just love her. She's such a fan favorite. But I don't see a champion. Like I don't. Does anybody see a champion and or the potential of being a champion? Because I don't. I really don't. I don't. She won and she made the right adjustments, but I don't feel better than I felt going into this fight. I think I probably feel a little bit less. Like the amount of damage, the amount of lack of head movement, her lack of movement. She seems like she's might be losing a little bit of athleticism too. That's concerning to me. Kremis Rock says she can't be a top 5 guy, top 5 fighter. She's obviously not a top 5 guy, top 5 fighter. One foot out there saying top 5 at best. Jay Stamps is some weird rape discussion going on in chat. I didn't see how that started. Rodrigo Martinez is saying not really, maybe a gatekeeper, like a gatekeeper to the top 5. Big Marcel is saying that she always loves. I love Amanda Hebus. I don't know if Ben, a big Marcel, I was told me and Ben were talking about Amanda Hebus. Like, if she was my neighbor, she'd be my best friend. Like, I want her to be my neighbor. Like, what a great neighbor. She's the one it'd be like, she'll be looking out for like your kids and, and stuff. Dirt Rego says it's easy to always say no to someone being a champ, Keith. Yeah, that's true. Very good point. Yeah, it's really easy to say not to be a champ. But I think you, Dirty Reg, you understand what I'm saying generally. Like, you feel, all right, how about this? Do you feel better about her after the win than you did before? Because I actually feel worse. Because, yes, it was fun as hell. Yes, she made great adjustments. The fight, both. I feel better about Pinheiro in a loss than I do with Hebus in a win. Hunter, I'm trying to be professional. I will not answer that question. Let's matchmake real quick. So give me a name for Hebus. Obviously, she's she'll be back in the rankings. Give me one name. I tried finding a lot of people. The division, not too many people booked, but what makes sense. She's fought a lot of people recently in the division. I'm going to go with someone who also recently came back to the division and was struggling and got a win. I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade. They'll be kind of on the same turnaround. Stylistically, I think a fun fight. Obviously, the winner would be on a 2-fight winning streak, would kind of be back in the mix. John Butterfield goes Hebus versus Mackenzie Dern 2. Crims Rocks goes the same thing with Hebus versus Dern. So we got a couple. One foot though goes Karolina Kovacevic. Give you credit for trying to spell Kovacevic instead of just putting KK. Jeff Pelton goes with the what we were talking about earlier about Brad Tavares always being our like insert middleweight. Who was it? Neil Magny's our insert welterweight. Jeff Pelton goes with the insert strawweight, which is Angelo Hill. Anybody who's willing to fight. Tracy Cortez is high or low. That's actually up. I think that's up a weight class. That was her old weight class. Dirty Ray goes with Hill too. Jay Stamps goes with I were in a fight with Andrade. She's been chinned before. Yeah, she would. But those are the things I want. I want them to be not. I don't know. I don't want to see. I don't want Hebus to get knocked out. But I mean, if she's going to be a fighter, she can be top of the division. You got to face someone like Andrade. Butterfield's going with Luana versus Karolina Kovacevic. A lot of let's see. Rodrigo's Lupi Godinez. Ooh, that's interesting. Ben Cooley says you'd avoid Andrade, and so not a lot of people like my Andrade one. Mentions Rodriguez. They fought before. I'm assuming you're talking about Marina Rodriguez. Let's see. Garrett Clemens goes Lupi. A lot. Yeah, we get some Lupi love. Lupi. Dirty Ray goes Vernon Chandaroba or Loma Lubumi. I think Loma's probably the step in the wrong direction. Maybe Verna. So let's move on. We'll probably start going a little bit quicker. Yoris Medish took on Miktibet Orabai. I apologize if I did not get that one correct on the pronunciation. Orabai taking the fight in like 4 days. Notice me and Ben, we didn't even get to preview this fight as we previewed Yoris Medish versus Johnny Parsons. Completely different opponent than Johnny Parsons is Parsons a kind of like a brawling striker, or by a little more well-rounded, obviously a much better wrestler. What we saw, Orabai did to Yoris Medish what Jonathan Pierce wanted to do, and that was close the distance and grind, and not rush anything. Get the takedown, work it. Gary Clemens is Sherdog. Is not. I don't own Sherdog. If that's what you're asking me, I work for Sherdog, but I don't own it. No. Excuse me. And that's going to beat a lot of people. It's not the ability to grapple, but the ability to grapple the way you want to. Get the takedowns, slowly work it, grind them, make them as they get up, he made Yoris Medish work for every minute. Kind of how Usman, when Usman first, jumped on the scene, and how Usman worked people, pressing against the cage, working them there, having a balance on a single. Now, Medish did a lot of things wrong. One thing is he doesn't know what an underhook is. He fights off of takedowns, and he a lot of times he was wrapping around like, dude, you got to create space and go underhook. Sorry, I'm like losing my voice. Sorry about that, guys. It's like Ben's not here, and I have a cold, so it's like combining going on with my voice. I'm like talking more, and then Sherdog's been around forever. I actually used to, for those who don't know, there used to be a different style to their podcasting. It was like a call-in show with Tita DeSantis. For those who like watching Victor, he's a commentator for Victor. I actually ran into him when I went to Victor. He's a good dude. We've chatted up. I used to be a call-in guy. Like I was a character on the show, and I would call in and talk to them and stuff. With Jeff Sherwood, who was the owner, who was the founder of Sherdog, Greg Savage, who now works for the PFL. He's one of the media guys for the PFL. Josh Gross, who still writes. He writes a little bit for Sherdog, writes for a bunch of other things. Who else was obviously Jordan Breen. So like I like to say I'm a student of those guys, and I appreciate everything those guys did for the website, and I'm honored that I could kind of do somewhat similar. Our previous show is now kind of like these two, the round table our previous show is kind of the new thing. I don't compare them. To me, there is no comparison. What they did set the scene, because you guys got to remember, and I know I'll go back to the fights in a second. The thing about Sherdog, and I know I speak for Ben too. There was a time when there was no other MMA websites. There was two. It was 2 or 3. There was the Underground with the Underground forums. There was Sherdog, and there was MMA Weekly. And Sherdog was. I'm not just saying because I work for it. I think everyone would say this. It was the most complete site. They had the forums. They had the radio show. They had articles. There's so many things. Now with the boom, the Ultimate Fighter era, and then the rise of MMA Underground. Yes, one for to mention MMA Underground. Yeah, they were around. MMA Weekly was around. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 other ones, but there wasn't that much. But I'm sorry, my voice is really bothering me. The rise of grew in the popularity of these other ones. Now, I'm not trying to say. I'm not trying to be one of these like I was there before you. I saw Pearl Jam before they were popular. Like I'm not trying to do that. Like whatever, dude. If you love MMA, I don't care if you started last week, man. If you love MMA, man, I'll talk MMA with you. Like I love MMA, and I think it's the greatest sport in the world. So I'm glad that these other ones have come along. So anyway, back to this fight. So one thing Medic did wrong wasn't doing the underhook, and the other thing in the second round. In the first round, he gets taken down next to the cage, get pressed again, can't get up. And the second round, he circles. He's so worried about not getting taken down. He's not throwing. And then he circles to the perimeter, giving the takedown. And Orabai took him down, took his back, subbed him. So really good debut. Medic is a tough out. So that's it. It's a good debut. It's on short notice. He gets a submission. Yeah, I'm always impressed with anybody who comes in the UFC, takes out, I don't want to say manages a veteran, but a guy's got some wins on his UFC career. Nice run. And you take it on days' notice. That's a good win, man. So, Miktabet, Orabai, I look forward to seeing him again. Speaking of Jonathan Pierce, I said that he wanted to fight like Jonathan Pierce. Jonathan Pierce was doing everything that Jonathan Pierce does, and that's get takedowns, grind, work. That's what he was doing, Joe Anderson Brito. And then he started talking junk. He's like, Brito saying, what did he say? He complained about. I know he complained about him grabbing his cup, but he complained about something else. And Jonathan Pierce said, I don't know exactly what he said, but like, if you got a problem with this, boy, get up and fight me, hit me, something like that. And he started talking junk. And this is what Brito can do. Brito needs 1 second. Brito fought to so we'll kind of do a little bit. Orabai fought like Pierce wanted to do, and Brito fought like Paul Craig wants to do, but can't. Brito lost, but he got up for 1 second, and that's all he took. He saw one opportunity. Pierce dropped down. His neck was there, and he locked in. Some people call it like a high-end guillotine. Most people call it the ninja choke. And I don't know if you've ever grappled, you've had it with it. Like it looked like a really quick tap. I have a friend. He's a BJJ black belt. We were kind of he was showing me some things, and that's one of his favorite chokes. And he was demonstrating on me. And when they lock that thing on, it feels like a vice grip is on your throat. I mean, it is. Even my friend grabbed me. I know as soon as I touch him, he's going to let go, and you still feel like in that second you're going to die. So, Brito's he's tough, man. He's on a winning streak. He's well rounded, and Pierce is a crafty vet, man. He's tough. He's a guy that he's going to grind you. He's going to frustrate you, and this is why I love the sport. He was way ahead. And you don't see this. You don't see a team in basketball being down by 30 and they hit one huge shot. Now there's no 31-point shot. There's no 25-point touchdown. There's no 10-point home run. But combat sports there is. Knockouts in boxing, knockouts and submissions in MMA, a pin in wrestling. This is what I love, which is so fun because you're always in it. And that's what I saw tonight. Like, to me, this was a really fun moment. Joe Bruno. He's well rounded, and he's on a nice winning streak. And I think it's time for him to face a ranked opponent. I mean, do you guys agree with me based on the winning streak that he's on? And I want a big step up in competition. So throw it in the chat. A guy that if you were the matchmaker, you're the supreme ruler, who you would match him with, and I'll give you mine, and I'll let you guys you tell me what you think. I'm going to give him Sadiq Yusuf. I'm giving him a ranked opponent, and I think he deserves that. Derek Reg goes with Coolball. Coolball's a dog. He's a guy that you don't think he'd he's tough, but yeah, okay. Ice Viking goes with saying that I'm still suffering from that ninja choke. Yeah, you might be right. Nice job. Garrett Clemens, he asked if we talked about we talked about it now in the beginning of the show, for about probably the first half hour or so of the show. So when this is on, it'll post back up on the Facebook page. It'll also be on the Sherdog main page too. So make sure you go and check that out. If you can't find it in the Sherdog YouTube page, go to the live section. You're gonna have to click live, but it usually takes a couple of minutes after the show. Chris Rock goes with maybe top 20. 1 foot out the door, says Brito versus Cody Garbrandt. I think he hurts Cody Garbrandt. I think it hurts him bad. But that's up a weight class for Garbrandt, right? Dirty Reg says he'll beat Sadiq Yusuf. He might. Butterfield goes Pineda. Pineda is a fun action fight, and he's a finisher. I want to see another kill or be killed fight first. Pineda is just for Caceres, group prelude to a ranked opponent. Yeah, John Butterfield, you're good. You're good at ranking, man. Rodrigo goes Danny K. You can't make bad fights. You can't make bad fights at featherweight. I like Danny K. That's a fun one. Jeff Melton goes Mezcas. Mezcas is fighting Steve. After I'm sorry. I should have finished reading your comment after you murdered Steve Garcia. Okay. Shpw would be fun for him. Yeah. There's some good matchmaking there. Let's move on. Chad Allenhallager took on Jose Johnson, winning by third round sub. This was a really fun fight. I don't know if I try to find the awards for tonight. Usually Ben is really good at that stuff. Let's see if anybody. Okay, I do have the awards. Thank you, Jay Petrie, the man. This is a really fun fight. Really, really, really fun fight. Johnson he's got a lot of potential. I mean, he's long in length. He's huge for the weight class. He's fast. He's powerful. He's got little scramble ability. Good length, good speed. I mean, this guy could rise up the rankings, but he concerns me with his fight IQ. And what I mean by that, Ann Helliger's the opposite. Ann Helliger's not a guy he's not a guy with a lot of skill. He's a good tough fighter. I'm not trying to bash him, but he doesn't have off the charts skills. He doesn't have God-given talent, but he has a fight IQ. He knew his best avenue victory is close distance, wrestle. And he tried. The problem is you can have the best plan, the best IQ. You still need some talent. You still need a certain amount of talent to execute the game plan. And I do enjoy those fighters that get the best out of their ability. And I feel like in Helliger in this fight, he did. I think he made the fight much closer than it needed it. It should have been based on their talent. Jose Johnson's the opposite. I think he's got incredible talent, but he's got poor fight IQ. What I mean by that is when he was standing at distance, throwing his hands fast, looking super fast. I keep notes of the fighters, help for the previous show. I put blazing fast. When he was throwing teep kicks up the middle, you could see early, even in the beginning of the fight, he was throwing teep kicks, and you could tell they were hurt. He was digging those feet into the hips and hurting him. The The issue is he kept following it into the clinch and trying to battle in the clinch and wrestling with Angeliger. He was giving Angeliger the fight he wanted. Now, he hit a nice sweep. He had some back takes. He had a lot of good moments in those scrambles. But that was really Angeliger's only chance of winning. Why even give him the chance? No, it obviously worked out great. He ended up getting a really late submission. So like I don't feel bad. I like this guy. I'm saying that he could rise up the rankings. I just think he needs to get a better fight IQ. And I do believe in this guy. I think he's good. I'm probably gonna pick him. I mean, based on who he's matched up against, there's a good chance I pick him in his next fight. Yeah, man, be wise. Get with some guys that that's going to put themselves in the best avenue of victory. Before that, Christian Leroy Duncan versus Dennis Tuhulan. Tuhulan, we didn't even preview Chris Leroy Duncan because his opponent, Cesar Almeida, pulled out before we did the preview show. They didn't have a fight announced yet. Dennis Tuhulan stepping up on days' notice, and Christian Leroy Duncan wins by second round TKO. I know it's days' notice, so they won't be too much stock in a win like this by Chris Leroy Duncan. He also beat up Dennis Tuhulan, who's he is what he is. As Bob Shifson mentioned, he's like a 10-9 record. Like he doesn't have a very good record, especially for someone in the UFC. But what I will say is this is what you're supposed to do when a guy comes in off the street and you're the big favorite, you're the prospect, you're the guy that. If I ask a question, who believes in him? Yes. If I ask who believes in Dennis Tuhulan, nobody. you know what I mean? Like nobody's going, oh yeah, I think Tuhulan's got the future. Like, no, he's a card filler. That's what he is. He's come in. Yeah, could he win 1 or 2 fights in UFC? Maybe. But he's a card filler. He's, hey, we only got 9 fights in the card. Let's hit another one. Oh, we have 12 fights. We need to get some guys to fight. Okay. All right, throw Dennis Tuhulan in. But Leroy Duncan, I mean, he's a guy that could one day headline a UFC. He could rise up the rankings. This dude looked good. I mean, he looked sharp as hell tonight. He was on his game. His boxing looked good. His clinch went good. His elbows inside were vicious. Like, man, landing uppercuts and combinations, slipping counters and landing a counter uppercut. Leroy Duncan looked good. I mean, he's always had some great kick in, but boxing, clinch work, elbows. This division is wide open. We talked about that in the beginning. This is a guy that could rise up the rankings. He's a guy, he blew out a guy that he was favored against, but he is a guy that he showed signs of could be special. And I wasn't pump the brakes on this guy kind of guy. Like I wasn't all in on him. I feel much better now. So it seemed like there's a lot of people mentioned Leroy Duncan, his athleticism, speed. Yeah, I like Leroy Duncan. We have to talk about it, but Mick Parkin took on Kiao Machado. Mick Parkin won by unanimous decision. I'm going to throw this out to you guys. The fight sucked. It was a heavyweight, low end heavyweight fight. The Parking has no power for heavyweight. Machado, in fairness, Machado threw more straight punches than we saw in the Contender Series, but he still there's a lot of clinching from Parking trying to go for takedowns. The most exciting thing about this fight was when Paul Felder was trying to talk up the fight. It was like, oh, these guys are slowing down because the pace they've been fighting. And then Dominic Cruz like, what pace you talking about? What output you talking about? And you can tell this is like this awkwardness where like Dominic Cruz disagree with him and put him on blast a little bit, and you can tell Felder was like, what the fuck, dude? And Felder like couldn't he like tried his best to like I don't know, save face, and it was just I thought it was really funny. But what we need to talk about is the decision. Do you guys agree with the decision? Because I don't. I scored the fight from Machado. I scored it 29-28 from Machado. I gave Machado the first and the third. I gave Parkin the second. I looked at MMA decisions because there was times I'm like zoning out in this fight because it was terrible. And MMA decisions were in. They had it 8-3. Eight MMA media members scored it for Machado. 3 members scored it for Parkin. All 4 are the people who scored for Sherdog. So of those 8-3, I'm one of them. So we'll call it 7-3. Scored it for on MMA decisions for Machado. Not a robbery. I don't know. People say that. I know people like to say that I never call it a robbery. But you know, this was on the Dana White's. If you don't know, now you know. I don't know who told Dana to pick that fight. You know, who wrote the little script for Dana, but like that person should be fired because I think anybody who's watched these guys fight, especially Parkin, would have known that this fight was going to suck. I think we've talked about that fight enough. Another surprise moment: Lucas Alexander took on Jika Sergey. Not the Sergey won, but the way he won. I mean, Lucas Alexander is this decorated kickboxer, and he got blasted and like he looked like that guy, like you know, like he tries to run away at one point. Like there was a little scramble. He was trying to keep his distance to run away, and then got clipped. It looked like when you have like a gang fight going on at the like at a prison, and you're fighting everybody, and one guy like he's getting hit, so he kind of like breaks away from the crowd, but he doesn't see this other guy who's coming. Like that's what it looked like. Like, oh, you didn't see that guy coming over and just catches him. Alexander would have been better if he stayed relaxed when he got up to the feet and just pillared. Like you're gonna probably eat a shot, pillar it, which people who watch the preview knows I'm not a big fan of pillaring, but like the way he was better if he just curled up, took a shot instead of trying to exit away. He tried running in, instead he ran right into a shot. Again, I know it's much easier for me, Monday morning quarterback in it saying, saying, what he should have done. Obviously, it's easy to say afterwards, but I was not surprised Sergey won. I mean, I picked Alexander. Alexander was a big favorite, but just the way that he knocked out Alexander, especially the way it started, Alexander looked like the guy, he's fast, long, decorated kickboxer. He looked like the guy that would starch Sergey. That wasn't the case. Power is always fun. What I do love is Sergey being the first Indonesian UFC fighter. He could become a star, and I don't think he's going to be a star and like he's going to win titles or anything. But I mean, like Indonesia is, obviously that's a market the UFC would love to be in. Indonesia is 4th in the world in population. For of all the countries in the world, Indonesia has the 4th most people. It's China, India, the United States, and then Indonesia. So I think it was a really good thing for the UFC for this guy to win. Now, I don't think he's going to, explode and become this superstar and there's going to be a card in Indonesia. Like, I don't think that's going to happen, but just, I don't know what the Indonesian people's, favorite media, or social media outlet. But, if it's Instagram or if it's Facebook, I think this could get a lot of views. This knockout, throw that knockout, get it on there for people to see because Indonesia has a shitload of people. Before that, Lucy Pudilova took on Eileen Perez. Perez, if you can wrestle in women's MMA, you're going to win a lot of fights. Plain and simple. And she can wrestle. The problem is she has a really bad gas tank. And that never looks good. It never looks good for you to go against Lucy Pudilova and end the fight, losing the third round, getting mounted, holding on to victory. Not good. She twerked. That's her thing. She likes twerking. She afterwards, she called for a fight with Norma Dumont for Battle of the Asses. Now, I'm trying to be professional. I wouldn't bring it up, but she said it, so I think it's fair game. Like, girl, it's cool that you beat Lucy Pudilova, but nobody, and I mean nobody, can challenge Noma Dumas in the cake area, if you know what I mean. Like, what are we doing? Before, all right. So I'm gonna take a. Let me take a sip for a second. All right, Trey Ogden versus Nicholas Mota. Let's talk about the actual action first, and then we'll talk about the ending. All right, and I apologize, I'm losing my voice. I know this one that people want to talk. I thought Ogden looked great. I thought he fought very intelligently. Strong jab. He was landing jab at ease. He beat. Well, he didn't beat, but he was beating Mota with doing 4 things. He threw a jab. He occasionally would feint. He would jaw a jab, then he would like feint and then throw a power one instead. He would move a lot, would get both his head and his feet, and then he would shoot takedowns, reactionary takedowns. And because of this, Mota never got comfortable. Every time Mota set his feet, he would be gone. Like, as soon as he saw his feet set, Mota's going to throw one of those big haymakers, Ogden would be out of the way. He'd be curling. Every time Mota was stepping forward, he kind of feint, draw out the attack. The attack would come, and then he would reactionary double. It was very intelligent. It was very good. It was me and Ben. We have this thing where we say, if we both pick an upset, that we have this thing. Like a lot of people, we didn't point it out. Someone else figured it out. We have a very good record. We have what we call the consensus underdog pick. Both me and Ben pick an underdog. No, we're not trying to say we're great at it. We're not. But I'm saying we have a good record, the two of them. Now, I don't know how our record is in our other picks, but the consensus underdog pick is pretty well. This was a consensus underdog pick, and I thought we were going to hit. And then the ending happened. Now, these need to be separated because there's 2 issues. The first issue is Keith Peterson stopping the fight. All right. So for those who don't know, maybe you didn't tune into the, it was at 2 p.m. here on the East Coast, very weird start time. That would be 11 a.m. on the West Coast. That would be, I don't know what time, normal time, I guess, for England and the rest of Europe and everything. But Trey Ogden locks in the head and arm choke. So the situation is the head and arm choke is in. One hand obviously is getting pulled across his arm. So one arm is like this, and the other one he's kind of pushing, kind of keeping Trey Ogden from being able to lock it in. Mike Beltran. Did I say Keith Peterson? I'm sorry. I think I read right. I'm sorry. It was Mike Beltran. I apologize to Mr. No Nazi Keith Peterson. It was Mike Beltran. Thank you, Matthew Mack and Big Marcel and a bunch of people correct me. Yeah, I'm sorry. It wasn't Keith Peterson. I apologize. Mike Beltran, who's actually a pretty good referee, he was saying to Mota, show me something, because it looked like it was locked in. And, he says, hey, show me that you're still, because what happened is Mota also has his eyes closed because, he's getting squeezed. And, naturally, a lot of guys, they close their eyes when they get squeezed. So he couldn't tell if he was out. Now, this is still John Butterfield. That's a nice line. Cruz still plays Peterson. To be fair, that was a good one. It somehow was Keith Peterson's fault. Nice show. It's a really tough situation because Mota was doing everything he needed to not get submitted. He's keeping his eyes closed because he's trying to stay calm. It's a natural reaction. He's got both hands are preoccupied. It's a tough situation. So he's saying, show me something to that you're still conscious. Mike Beltran reaches down at one point, check his arm, and he must have been something the way he felt it. Okay, he's still good. Does it, says it 2 or 3 other times. Like, show me something, show me something. And then he goes in, touches on me, he goes, no, that's it. And he pulls him off. I'm really torn because he has to do that. He has to say, show me something. Now, the problem is him saying that. What the hell is the guy supposed to show you? If he moves his hand, maybe the if he he's pushing one hand like that. If he moves his hand to give you a thumbs up, maybe it gets locked in even more. I guess technically, I mean, the way his other hand was going around his body and it was kind of like down, like maybe he could have like flicked his fingers. I don't know what he wanted him to show. So maybe he opens his eyes and looks at him. I don't know what he wanted him to show. Maybe we as an MMA community need to come, there needs to be something behind the scenes. Like, hey, if you're in a situation where you can't give me a thumbs up because of, your hands are held, maybe there's something else. Maybe you tap your foot. Maybe you look at me with your eyes and you blink 3 times quickly. Something that acknowledges that you're not unconscious. Maybe that's something we have to address. I don't know. Well, I do know something we do need to address. I just don't know what it is. Like, pick what they think is best. I don't hate that Peterson jumped in. I really don't, and because the worst situation is what if he's unconscious and he's getting choked, and he gets choked for a really long time before. He goes out, he's unconscious, and it's a really long time before anybody knows he's unconscious. So, like, I understand that Mike Beltran is in a terrible situation. He really is. If we're being fair, and I know we never really are fair to referees. When I think about moments in MMA of terrible referees' moves, decisions, this one would be in my top 100. Because it just, to me, it was it was the perfect scenario. It sucked. It is what it is. So to me, there's 2 issues. To me, here's the bigger issue. The bigger issue is the commission, Mike Beltran. They realize he fucked up because as soon as he pulls him off, Motor's jumping up. He's clearly conscious right away. He's jumping like, dude, I didn't tap. I was fine. Okay. Here's the bigger issue. Ruling this fight a no contest, that's terrible. Trey Ogden won the first 2 rounds. He's winning the 3rd round. He's about 2.5 minutes from winning this. He's ending the round, or he's in that position. It's likely he ends the round. Now, we don't know for sure, so that's fair. We don't know for sure. Maybe Motor somehow gets up to his feet, catches him, and knocks him out. That could have happened. We've seen it in MMA. So it's not a 100% guarantee, but more than likely. I don't know what the betting lines at that point was, but it was probably -1,000 for Ogden to win. He's in deep on a head and arm triangle choke that maybe 10 more seconds, maybe a little bit of adjustment, but he does choke out Moda. You cannot make this a no contest. We have rules in place to go to a judge's decision after a certain point in time of a fight, and this was that. I forget who was. Someone posted the scorecards, and 2 out of 3 judges had Trey Ogden up 2 rounds to none, and then you would have him up this round. If you score the 3rd round, he's clearly winning this one. The one judge who did not have the one judge who had it 19-19 is Chris Lee, of course. Why does Chris Lee still have a job? I mean, it's comical at this point. That guy fucking sucks. And I apologize for swearing. That guy's terrible. And I understand he's not, sometimes he has the right scorecard, but the reason why we know his name, because he stands out over and over and over again for being the odd one out and getting those scores right. And I know there's some examples where he was the one who got it right. But what the hell, dude? Like, he sucks, dude. Anyways, back to the commission. I find it hard to believe. I mean, I don't know. It was, they said Mike Beltran and Herb Dean and Mark Ratner, and I don't know who else. They're all discussing, like, what is the solution, with the commission. The people in here can would all agree and say, yeah, go to the decision. Trey Ogden wins. They just stole money from this guy. This is his win bonus. He doesn't get that. He says, I don't care about records and everything. And that's what he's supposed to say. But he gets another win on his record instead of a no contest. He what the hell, guys? Why? I understand we're a new sport. I understand, in the realm of when you think about MLB and NFL and but it seems like every fucking card with us is something that's fucked up. And I apologize for swearing again, guys, but I'm just sick of it. I love this sport. I want this sport to be great. I want the sport to be where everybody watches. And I understand when people say there's bad calls in other sports. I get it. I mean, the Super Bowl last year ended on one of the most to me, I think one of the most BS holding calls in history that gave. I'm not saying the Chiefs won the one anyways, but gave the Chiefs the win. I mean, they set them up to kick a field goal and win the game. Ended the entire NFL. So I understand there's other situations. But every time with MMA, I was waiting the whole show. I would expect when Brandon Fitzgerald was talking and he said, yeah, Lee gave Moda round 2. How? I have no idea. But when they said, the guys are still just talking after they ruled a no contest, I was expecting them to say, guys, no, we go to scorecards, let's fix this. And I was waiting throughout, they're like, all right, guys, breaking news. We actually went to the scorecards and Trey Ogden won. The commission never changes the decisions ever. I mean, very, very, very few times do things get changed afterwards a night. If you're not going to change the ruling in this fight, then what the hell do we have a commission for? What is the point? If Trey Ogden, appeals this decision as no contest and appeals it for a win, and they don't rule in his favor, then shame on them. Shame on them. Shame on the commission. What the hell, guys? This is a win for this guy. And I mean, I maybe I'm being over passionate because I picked the upset win. I don't know, but come on. I just want to see our sport be good. I want the right thing to happen. And I'll say this to Moda, and Moda's not to blame, not to blame anyway. But that said, if they gave this for Trey Ogden, this was his chance. If they gave Trey Ogden a third round, because I didn't want Trey Ogden to get a third round submission win. He didn't deserve that. No. I think there's a better chance that Trey Ogden would have got that submission win than Moda coming back and winning this fight. But if they scored, they said, "Oh, you were out, you tapped," and we've seen that happen. We've seen that happen with fighters where the guy didn't tap out and they still give it to the other guy. But if they gave that to Trey Ogden, then Moda has something to complain about. He can say they give him an out. They give him a chance. So the rest of his life he can go, I was going to win that fight. But instead of screwing Moda, they screwed Trey Ogden, who did absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, it was terrible. It was going to be the best win of his career. Just a terrible situation all around. And opening let's move on. I think I went long enough. So, and before that, Charles Johnson took on Rafael Esteban. Esteban winning by decision. Esteban, he's a good wrestler. I mean, he's a good wrestler. He's a good grappler. That was the difference in this fight. The issue I have, the thing I'm going to remember about this fight is, him fading late, Charles Johnson coming on. Charles Johnson had a great third round. If you scored a 10-8 round in the third round, I'm okay with it. I didn't. I scored at 29-28 for Esteban. I gave Esteban the first 2 rounds and Charles Johnson the third. Johnson was coming on really strong. I think he should have threw some stepping knees. He kept ripping the body, which I think was the right decision. I think he should have came in with some stepping knees for a couple reasons. One, he blasts him the body, but 2, also when he throws the knees, maybe he catches Esteban on the head as he's ducking down. He kept trying to go down for some takedowns. But cardio is a major issue for Esteban. And I don't like saying this. I don't like changing results of fights on ifs, what ifs, like when I was talking about Usman versus Chimaev, and everyone goes, "Oh, if it was a 5-round fight, Usman would have won." Well, it wasn't a 5-round fight, and Chimaev was fighting a 15-minute fight. So that's why I don't like doing it. But in this case, I do want to do an if, because if Estevan, who weighed in 2 pounds over at a flyweight fight, if he sucks 2 more pounds, how much more dehydrated would he have been? How much harder would it have been to refuel? How much of an impact would it have been in a fight? And did he win? Did his cardio get to hold on to win 10 minutes of the fight to have 2 rounds in? Maybe he doesn't win 10 minutes. Maybe he can only win 7 minutes. And now Johnson wins the second round, or Johnson, picks up the pace earlier so he gets a stoppage. So that's a huge issue. And especially at flyweight, when you're cutting and you're sucking weight, the lower the weight is, the even worse it is, because you have less, you're cutting more percentage of your body. To me, that was an issue. And Esteban's, he's undefeated. He should be a guy that we should be getting excited about. Anybody who's undefeated and beating a tough guy. I mean, Charles Johnson is tough. Being a tough guy like Charles Johnson, I would feel, I'd feel pretty good. But the cardio in that weight class, there's other guys, they're going to be able to stop some of his takedowns, and he's got a big issue. So I don't feel that good about him. So there you guys have it. We've covered all 14 fights. Let's do some fun stuff. I'm really going to need you guys help in this one. Let's do Dude Seriously. Actually, we'll do the awards. I'll tell you what I would have given for the awards. Tell me what you would have given the awards, and I'll tell you what the awards were. So the awards were Performance of the Night, Brandon Allen, Amanda Hebus. Oh, they go 4 performance bonuses. Okay, so I will leave out Fight of the Night, and I will go for 4 performance bonuses. So the 4 performances: Brandon Allen, Amanda Hebus, Joe Anderson Brito, and Jekka Seregi. I definitely agree with Jekka Seregi. I would have gave him one of them. If we're going 4 bonuses, I would have gone with Amanda Hebus. I would have given Chase Hooper one. Based on, get a first round submission. The way it happened, I would have given him, and I would have given Duncan. I understand he was a huge favorite, and his opponent came on very short notice, but it was a really good knockout, really good overall performance. I would have given it to him. I liked Ann Helliger and Johnson for like a Fight of the Night. Like, that was a really good fight up to that moment. So I'm okay with it. I'm gonna go with the bonuses, throwing out some things. Dirty Reg liked Jekka for a performance bonus. McLeod goes Hebus and Brito. So I didn't go with Brito, but okay. I understand how it happened. Matthew Mack says Ogden is, you're going back to the Ogden. They asked, I don't know if anybody asked about him afterwards, if they're going to make that right. Even if the UFC makes it right and they give him some kind of bonus, that still doesn't take away that he should get win his career. That still matters. It's just a terrible situation. So let's see. Let's see. Rodrigo goes Jekka, Brito, and Orabai, Jelton, Brito, Allen, Seregi, and Orabai. So I didn't give it to him just because it was kind of boring up to that point. But coming in on days notice, I understand the argument. So let's go with Dude Seriously. So I got a couple of Dude Seriously. I will start with Brandon Fitzgerald. I thought was fantastic on the play-by-play today. He's got a very good sense of humor. When the first time Eileen Perez won instead of twerking, he goes, "Some would say that's too early on a Saturday afternoon for that." Dude, seriously. And that wasn't it's our get. I'm like, dude, seriously, nice line. That was a nice line, dude. Nice job. Nice job, Brandon Fitzgerald. Okay, I gotta go a different Dude Seriously. Dominic Cruz at one point says, I don't know if you caught this. He said, I don't know what fight it was. I think it might have been the Jose Johnson fight, but I'm not really sure which fight it was. But he goes, so the higher ground, the higher ground wins all the time, most of the time. Like, dude, seriously? That wasn't like Yogi Berra trying to joke, Rodney Dangerfield type of joke. He was being 100% serious when he said that the higher ground wins all the time, most of the time. Dude, seriously. And Joe Anderson Brito, he goes, listen, I understand he doesn't speak English, and I don't fault anybody who doesn't speak English. If that's not the natural language. I don't speak two languages, so I can't criticize. But he goes, "Hey, motherfucker!" And then he starts talking in Portuguese, but he pulls up a Monster can and he starts pointing at the Monster can. Like, dude, were you calling out like a beverage? Like, what were you doing? And then they translate, and he never mentions who he was calling out. So he said, "Hey, motherfucker," pointed at a Monster Energy can. I don't know. Was it like a Brock Lesnar UFC 100? He didn't get sponsored right. I don't know what was going on, but I don't know. Let me get some. John Butterfield says Brandon Fitzgerald is low key cool as hell. Yeah, I met Brandon Fitzgerald a couple times. He does seem pretty cool. Jeff Pelton, dude, seriously on the ninja choke for JSP asking for it. Ninja Kitty, the ground and pound for Perez gives a dude seriously. Let's see. Dev gives a dude seriously for twerking in front of your son and then shouting out his birthday. Yeah. Yeah, not good. Jeff Pelton kind of, I think that's Yogi Berra. 50% of the time it works every time. A lot of people not happy about about her twerking in front of her son. Oh, Paul Felder forgot Peyton Talbot's first name. I didn't hear that. I was probably like writing something down. I didn't notice that. Nice job, Dev. I didn't hear that. That's pretty funny. All right, let's get to the Bulls. Let's do the cut list. The cut list is usually it's both if me and Ben have names on both of our lists. We allow the UFC to cut them. This time, if only it's on my list, we'll get some from the chat. So who you think it's time for the UFC to let go? I have 3 people. My first one, I'm going to go Lucy Pudilova. She's now 3-7 in the UFC. How she's gotten 10 fights in the UFC is crazy to me. She's lost 2 fights in a row since coming back. Yeah, she made, she had a good third round in this one, but she still lost to a low level person. So I would get rid of Lucy Pudilova. My number 2 person I would cut, Dennis Shillan. Now I know, I don't like cutting people coming on days' notice, but he's lost 4 out of 5. He's lost 3 in a row. He probably shouldn't have been in the UFC anyways. So I get rid of Shillan. And my last one, Nick Aragi. He's 0-2 in the UFC. He got trashed in both fights. Doesn't look good. To me, there's no future with this guy. No potential. In that division, I'd rather have guys with potential. So give me Nick Aragi to be released. Some of the people in the chat who they're getting rid of, Jay Stamps, Pudilova, and Shillan. John Butterfield only cuts Dennis. Maybe Charles Anheliger, but keeps them, but only cuts Dennis. Big Marcel, Pudilova, Shillan, and Anheliger. I kept Anheliger because it was a really fun fight. So, Big Marcel saying that Dennis took the fight 4 days. He might get he probably will. He probably will, but I might be a little more heartless than the UFC owners. I might have cut them. All right, let's go on to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. When stock going up, it's a bull stock or bull market. When it's going down, it's a bear stock or bear market. You want to be on the Bulls list. You don't want to be on the Bears list. We do it hockey style 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go positive. And my number 3 bull, I'm going to go with the UK MMA, specifically England. They went 2-0 on the night. Now, I did not agree with the Parkin win, but still 2-0 with Duncan and Parkin winning back-to-back fights. Add in that, they just got a heavyweight champion in Tom Aspinall last week. Overall, UK MMA has been really hot. Obviously, a lot of that could fade in a couple weeks if Leon Edwards loses the title. I don't have the betting line. I'm assuming he probably is a slight favorite or maybe marginal favorite. But UK MMA has been really hot. So I'm going to say this stock is going up. A couple other people that I was looking at. I was looking at my Bectech Orabai. I was looking at Chase Hooper to make this list. They did not make it. Jacob Saragi almost made the list too, but he didn't make it. But I just give you a couple of names that didn't make it just because Ben isn't here to give you a couple more. But I'm going to go with Joe Anderson Brito. Despite losing most of this fight, he won. Pierce is really good, tough out, gets a submission win. He's won 4 fights in a row in that division. That's a tough division to get wins. So I feel like Joe Anderson Brito's stock is, really rise. I'm calling for him to fight a ranked opponent, so that's always a good sign for a fighter. And number one, I mean, it's really the most obvious, but it's Brendan Allen. I mean, he's won 6 fights in a row. I mean, you don't have to win a lot of fights in a row at middleweight, to get a title shot. He's won 6 in a row. He's won, I think 2 of those were main events. So I think he's 2-0 in the UFC main events. Brendan Allen's really hot. So I'll go with Brendan Allen. Let's go to actually, let me read some of you guys. Do you guys have any bulls? Let's see. Chris Rock goes with Allen, Jekka, and Brito are bulls. John Butterfield, Jekka, Brito, and Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, giving Kyrgyzstan some love. Okay. Jeff Pelton, Ogden. yeah, we should mention Ogden, Brito, and Jika. So let's go to the Bears. These are the people whose stock went down. You do not want to be on the Bears list. Again, with the 3-2-1, I'm going to go with Jordan Leavitt. Losing to Chase Hooper is always bad, having that loss on your record, but also being a jiu-jitsu guy, that's your avenue for victory. He's been submitted. I mean, he's been down. I mean, for a guy who's supposed to be really good jiu-jitsu, I think it's overrated. I mean, he got dominated on the ground by Paddy Pimblett. He got dominated on the ground by Chase Hooper. He's not the killer on the ground as people think he is. My number 2, again, it's pretty obvious when Paul Craig. I mean, he's lost now in 2 different divisions. He's not he talks about being a title contender. He's not. He's just a guy he's a character to get people wins. He's lost 3 out of his 5, last 5. And my number 1, I'm gonna go with the commission after the Moda Ogden mess. To me, I don't know if their stock could get any lower, but somehow it got lower, and I'm sure the next card it'll get lower again, And when I talk about commission, I'm talking about all commissions. So obviously, I'm not just talking about Las Vegas. Tonight's Las Vegas, but other commissions will screw up. Just be better, guys. Come on, like Trey didn't get screwed. So those are my Bears lists. I'll go with some Bears. Christmas Rock, Monkey King, Perez twerking, and Alexander. Rodrigo throws Charles Johnson on it. Nicholas, Jake Matthews. I didn't expect that name on it, but yeah, he lost. John Butterfield, definitely. Leavitt, Alexander, Jake Matthews. So I guess a lot of people had, Jake Matthews on their list. Jeff Pelton, Craig, Alexander, Medish, and heavyweight fights. All right, let's get to the grade of the card. Everyone put it in the chat what you would score it. I know Big Marcel has no idea how the grades work because I don't know how do they do it, 1 through 10 or something like that in Europe or whatever. But we do it American grading style, so A's, B's, C's, and D's. I go C plus. There was a lot of finishes. There was a lot of action. Didn't go too many scorecards. Nothing spectacular. That's why I just go like a C plus. Like it was okay. Timing of the day is a little bit better for me. It was actually really nice to date though in New England. I could have done a little bit more yard work but it's not super late. I'm not going to bed at 3 a.m. So I'll go C plus. Michaelis goes C. Ninja Kitty goes C plus. Chris Rock goes C at best. John Betterfield's the high score right now, B plus. J Stamp C. Jeff Pendleton B. So the B C range. No one's calling this an all timer. No one's giving it an A. No one's going, complete flop, going with a D or an F. So kind of that B C range. Rodrigo Martinez gives it a C. So yeah, everyone's kind of in that range. All right, toughest one. I mean, the chat was banging. I asked you guys for help. The chat was banging. I see there's a lot of people that I didn't recognize their names a lot, so I appreciate that. I mean, Mitchell Lois. I'm sorry. I've been really butchering your name the whole time. I'm sorry. Was rocking Rodrigo Mardones, someone I don't think I've seen too much. Was killing it. Jeff Pelton, I may have been there before, but he's really, really strong tonight. Good to see Big Marcel. Matthew Mack. I don't know if I've recognized that name, so thank you for joining us. There's a couple of Ice Viking. I like that. Dirty Reg was killing it tonight. Who else we had? Higher Low 1000. The Higher Low's here a lot. He's strong. I don't know if I mentioned John Butterfield. Bob Chimpson was trolling a lot, but that's okay. So a lot, really, really strong. I appreciate you guys. But I'm gonna go with a guy that I haven't really seen too much in the chat, but I think he really killed it. And I apologize. I'm probably gonna say his name wrong, but my listener tonight, I'm gonna go with Chrism Rock. I thought they were really strong the whole time. Interactive from start to finish. So my listener of the night is Chrism Rock. So congratulations, Chris Rock, as our listener of the night. Thank you so much, guys. We have 2 weeks off. We do not have a preview show this week, as in America, first name Crims. Did I Rock Crims? Did I say that correct? I mean, I think I get the last name right, but Crims Rock. It sounds like a rapper. like my favorite rapper, Crims Rock. That sounds dope. It's a graffiti tag. Oh, that's cool. That's actually really cool. That's really cool. If you can do that, next time you come in the chat. I don't know if you have it online or anything, but if you got some cool work or something you want to support it, put a link or something in so we can see some pictures and stuff. Anyways, so it is Thanksgiving this week in the United States. So all you in America who celebrate, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I know I speak for Ben and also all of Sherdog. Wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving. We'll be back in 2 weeks. What card do we have? It's a good one too. I can't remember. I've already, which is sad because I've already been doing tape studies. So how do I? Of course. Oh yeah, Beneil Dariush versus Arman Sarukian. Really good card. We got Dan Hooker versus Bobby Green. Davison Figueiredo versus Rob Font. Kelvin Gastelum versus Sean Brady. A bunch of other fights. It's a really, really good card in 2 weeks. So from now until then, obviously there's more MMA. So make sure you check all that. Go to sherdog.com. Check out all that. We'll be back, both me and Ben, to preview. I appreciate you guys listening. I'm sorry about my voice. I'm sorry for rolling slow, but I think you guys made it really fun. So you guys have a good night. Thanks for listening. Make sure if you're just listening now, make sure you do a like and all that good stuff. Help us out. Until next time, guys.